Hey, how's it going? I have Nikita from Svn.Seeker, the melodic death metal band from Connecticut in the US, joining me very shortly. But if there is anybody watching already, then hello. I hope you are doing well. Here's Nikita now. I don't know if you've done this before, but you just have to press the button to request to join, and then I can bring you on, basically. So, yeah. So, hi to anyone who's watching. This is going to be on the IGTV afterwards as well. So, hi if you're rewatching this. It's probably going to end up on my YouTube channel as well, which I'm just starting to push a little bit more. So, hi. And hopefully, I've just accepted Nikita's request. So, it should be on any second. Let's see. Hey.
Hey there.
How's it going?
It's sweaty, but thankfully it's cold inside.
Right, yeah, it's pretty warm here as well. Probably not as warm as over there, but yeah,
Maybe
it's
not.
pretty warm. We've had a nice few days actually. We had a load of horrible, rainy, drizzly, miserable days, and then we've had some really quite nice sunny ones. But it's not too oppressive over here. It's all right, you know.
Isn't the rainy drizzly thing kind of like stereotypical UK?
Oh, totally, yeah. We've had sorry, one sec. Yeah, we've had a lot of that, and it totally is stereotypical. We just get. It's not that we don't get sun and quite hot weather. Sometimes it's just unpredictable, and we
Right.
sometimes get it all at the wrong times. Like, in recent years, we tend to get our summer weather happens like in spring, and then in summer it just rains. I don't know if that's to do with climate change or what, but that
Eh.
seems to be more of a recent thing. But anyway, I'm rambling on. So hello to everybody who's just joined or is just joining. I hope you're all doing well. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you do. Tell us about your band, all that good stuff. Give us the intro.
I'm Nikita. I do a lot of crap, but as far as music, I'm doing right now it's mostly main songwriting, behind the scenes like PR management work. And guitars and vocals in my band Sunseeker. Um, yeah, we do melodic death metal, so it's like Iron Maiden meets growls and blast beats, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
Although
man.
I like to mix up like the European and American styles just to kind of give some flavor.
Yeah, no, totally. Now I was listening today, and yeah, some really, really cool stuff, and great vocals as well. Really, really
Oh,
cool vocals.
thank you. I had
So
to relearn it.
right. So I think you had. Am I right in thinking it's your first release was earlier this year? Is that right, or did I get that wrong?
No, you got it. Yeah, we released the EP in February. It was supposed to come out last year, but with COVID, it pushed back a lot of our recording plans.
Yeah,
For better or worse. So yeah, we dropped it in February.
nice. And what's it called?
Oh yeah, Means to an End. It's
Hmm.
the Means to an End EP. Very cheery, very happy.
Yeah. So how have you found like promoting that and stuff? Because I'm guessing with COVID, you've not been able to do much in the way of touring and shows and stuff. I don't know. I know in the US there are some shows. There's not really anything over here at the moment, but yes. How have you found kind of getting that out there into the world and pushing it and promoting it? Has that been difficult with the COVID thing, or have you managed to do that in different ways than touring and stuff?
It's definitely been difficult because we had quite a few like pretty solid shows lined up for the spring and summer last year,
Hmm.
which sucked. But because that was kind of like a supposed to be lead up preparation to do more shows. Maybe not necessarily a full tour, just because all of us, the four of us, we all have different jobs and different varying different schedules. Like our rhythm guitarist just finally got a new job, and so he's settling in there. And my bass player is a funeral director, and that's got a very demanding schedule.
Sure.
So touring may not. That's something I definitely want to do, but that's kind of like up in the air. As far as yeah, promotion's been really tough. I've just been trying to kind of keep things semi-interesting on social media, but it's tough, with working a
Yeah.
full-time job and like dealing with my own stuff on top of having to keep the band promoted online. It's tough. We were considering doing, like everyone does, the live stream shows.
Mm,
and the sets and stuff. But the rehearsal room that we use, the sound is so bad.
really?
It's just in this big old brick factory, and so you do your own mixing and mastering, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you'll understand how much sound will bounce around in a brick room
Oh, sure.
that's without any acoustic treatment or bass traps or anything. It's just
Yeah, man.
it's
And when
tough.
you're
So
playing
we
your sort of music, the trouble is if you've got that type of acoustic, like if you were playing acoustic folk or something, you'd probably be okay. But when you're playing really loud, heavy, precise, tight stuff, it just tends to become really messy really quickly in that sort of room,
oh
doesn't it?
oh it's the worst. We just recently because we shared the room with another band that shares my bass player, funnily enough. They just the one of the guys just went ahead and kind of rearranged it and gave us both a bit of equal space. And so I got a chance to like kind of move out of the like away from the band a little bit to hear how things are, and it's terrible.
Right,
So
right.
things like that were really tough. We did end up playing I think one show last year and a show a few weeks ago. It was an outdoor kind of thing. So that was
Nice.
fun, it was socially distant outdoor. We had a really good response both times, and we're kind of hoping to do more. I have like a I'm not sure if I'm totally ready to go back to shows as they were though. I feel it's my thing is I think everything over here on our side of the ocean is they're trying to rush into whole get back to normal. We're gonna be a-okay. But until we see the consequences of that, I guess we're gonna do our best to get as many shows in before ish hits the fan.
Yeah, yeah. No, totally. I mean, it's a bit similar over here. They're talking about everything going back to normal in about less than a month, in like 3 weeks. But they are also talking about maybe delaying that because there's various more transmissible variants and stuff. But you see, the majority of adults over here now have been vaccinated with at least one dose of the
Oh,
vaccine. So we're kind of apparently the way it's looking is cases are going to go right back up. That's going to happen just because this new variant's more transmissible. But it's
yep.
kind of on a knife edge whether that will lead to more. Well, whether it'll lead to a lot more hospitalizations and deaths, or whether we'll just avoid that because lots of us have been vaccinated. So I'm crossing my fingers. But yeah, I know what you mean. I think yeah, I think if there was a show happening tonight in a normal, in a small venue, cram packed with 200 people or something, I don't think I'd be up for going to that yet. Even I've had
Yeah.
one dose of the vaccine, but yeah, I feel like I'm going to wait and see a little bit. But at the same time, if a social distance show or something like that, I'd be open to it. I'd be open. Definitely outdoor shows. That's totally fine.
Right.
I'm up for that. So
Right. Yeah, no,
yeah,
we're all fully vaccinated, and according to at least the most recent data I looked at, which I'll admit I'm not super on the ball with the information, like the COVID information for the country, but I guess
yeah.
the state that we're currently located in, and a couple other ones like within our region in New England, I guess we're doing better than most of the country, you know.
That's
So
cool, man.
that's I guess that's something for us to look forward to. Like a lot of people, excuse me, to give you a look inside how things are in Micah and in the U.S. a little bit. Like Connecticut is like always considered a joke state by everybody,
Okay.
including everyone in Connecticut, because it's like we're a tiny state that really doesn't affect super much as far as I am aware. But I always joke it's the place you'd go through to get to New York City.
Right, right,
It's just the
right.
traffic. And but on the other hand, like we're lucky because we are a small state. I'd say relatively progressive state. So like things like people taking masks a bit more seriously, people getting more vaccinated.
Yeah.
It works out kind of. It's like, oh yeah, we're a joke state, but we're doing kind of okay. So who's the joke?
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure, for sure. No, that's good. That's good. So I
Oh yeah,
wanted to talk a little bit about creativity and the creative process and all that kind of
definitely.
stuff. So in terms of like songwriting and writing music, so did you say you're kind of the main writer for Sunseeker? Is that right?
I guess more or less that's kind of how it ended up happening. It wasn't really my intention to be that. To be fair, I just kind of had a bunch of ideas. So for means to an end, two of the songs I had ideas for like before even the idea of the band started.
Right.
Pilford I wrote like almost 10 years ago now, really like the very very base of it, and actually most of it. And then Seeking My Own Son was something I was working on when I was in my previous band before I had to leave. And it just kind of worked out that like I had these ideas going and fleshed them out, and happened to be the other guys dug it. They've obviously added their takes and influences, and we've tweaked some things. I've taken some ideas from them, and we've incorporated them over mine. So it's not like I have. It's not like it's all me. It's definitely not the cats are like I wrote everything start to finish. It's all they're just playing my parts. I'm not Devin Townsend, and even then, I'm pretty sure he gives his musicians a level of creative freedom. But
Yeah.
yeah, no. As of right now, I'm just kind of because I have my guitar. I have a simple recording setup of a computer, and I just got a Universal Audio Apollo to kind of
Oh yeah,
better
nice, man.
better track my stuff. Oh, I love it so much. The price tag's so worth it.
Totally.
So I just kind of end up, just putting down ideas, writing them out. I use like basic drum MIDI patterns to kind of like flash them out, and just I slap it together after a while, depending on how bad writer's block wants to beat me in the face, and then we go from there. But I'm always, open to contributions and criticism, and any ideas that the guys will bring forth, just because I can't, I'm not the most confident songwriter. I've only just been recently kind of, dipping my toes into actually how to write a song, because anyone can write a riff. Anyone can write 2 or 3 riffs and slap them together, but like, I never, I've being able to write a cohesive song has been like the bigger challenge. And so I can't just sit there and be like, yep, it's definitely done. I'm all happy with it. And this is perfect. Like I have to double check with people whose opinions I respect, and people who, maybe aren't musically inclined, but I would agree with what they, because I want to see what someone who's not a musician says.
Yeah.
It's one thing if like, oh yeah, someone who knows music, say listens to like Bitches Brew from Miles Davis, like, oh, that's amazing. But you get your average listener, it's like, wow, that sucked. So I'd rather, and at the end of the day, I mean, I just want to write good songs. Like I like them, but if someone else is like, oh, this is crap, I'm just like, well, why did I waste my time on that?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think that confidence builds and builds with time. The more you do it, and you get to learn. Yeah, you get to learn what works and what doesn't.
Right.
More and more. But no, that's cool. So how do you go? So how do you start then? Do you sit down with the guitar and write those riffs first and like record them on your phone or something? I mean, that's often how I work. I'll just come up with little ideas on the guitar, and I'll decide that I like a bit, and I'll record it into my phone, and then I'll come back to it later. And then I usually write the lyrics separately these days, and then I put things together at a later date, and I work around the lyrics and put different ideas together, bring new ideas in, and then record a sort of demo version of the whole lot, usually on the acoustic guitar, because that just suits the sort of, I guess, singer-songwriter thing that I do.
Right.
But yeah, how do you approach that yourself? And if you want to write a song, where do you start, and how does that progress?
More or less the same way. I'll kind of just like, I'll fall into an idea. I'll be noodling around. I'm running warm-ups and scales, or playing songs that I know, or going through old material or whatever. And sometimes I'll just, some days or weeks I'll be listening to something either I knew, like I'm rediscovering, or something new, or even just revisiting, and I just kind of go, oh, I could probably write something like this. Again, it's kind of feeling it. So I'm definitely a guitar based person, musician. I guess that's my main instrument. So I used to do it in my phone a lot, just because that was probably the easiest way to do it. But now that I have, like I said, that Apollo interface, it's so much easier. Right now, it's really easy. I can just plug it into my DAW, and I have a basic like songwriting template with a couple of tracks just for like each instrument, and I'll just bang out like a quick idea, and then I'll go back and refine it a little bit, and then from there it's kind of like a crapshoot as to either how long it takes or which way the song goes, and I kind of just usually I'll get the idea down. If I kind of find myself on a block, I'll say, all right, I'll save it, I'll render it out as like an MP3, and I'll put it on my phone. And then throughout the week, or throughout whatever days, I'll just kind of keep listening to it. And then a lot of the time, I'll end up just like singing out the next part. I feel that, for me, it's weird. I feel that like I'm not the best singer by any stretch. Like my harsh vocals have gotten a lot better since I took lessons before we started playing live, because I've been doing it wrong for so long that I was worried I wouldn't be able to do it, period.
Right.
So I thankfully stopped myself and took lessons. But like as far as clean singing, I feel like with the guitar, sometimes I just get locked into like some of the same scale patterns, or just the same shapes, and kind of tread the same ground.
Hmm.
Whereas with if I sing an idea out, like my ear is kind of unfettered and untethered. So whatever comes out, I kind of can get through, and I'll do that a couple
Mm,
times. Sometimes I'll record it into my phone, and then later transcribe it and see how it fits. And it just kind of goes along from there.
that's a
Some
cool
days
way
I
of
have,
doing it. Yeah, singing
yep,
the idea out. Yeah, sometimes things come to, I kind of write bits in my head, and then
yep,
yeah, transcribe it or translate it to guitar or whatever later on. Yeah, no, that's really cool. So in terms of the vocals, then, because to be honest, I've never really written in that sort of style with those harsh vocals. I suppose with the Moonlow project, I do use sort of harsh vocals, but that was
hmm
the way I did that was I just wrote the lyrics and then I wrote all the music and had a basic version of the track, and then I just completely improvised my delivery over the top. I didn't plan where I was going to say which words. I just
hmm
completely improvised it. So, but obviously for my singer songwriter thing, I have to plan the melodies out, and
yep,
there's the lyrics and there's the melody, and I sort of work on the lyrics separately and I work on the melody separately, and then I combine them together, and then the melody might change a little bit to encompass the words, or vice versa. The words might change a little bit to just fit the cadence of the melody. But yeah, so how does it work for you, and how does it work when you're delivering those harsh vocals, which are a bit different, sort of melodically? It's not exactly a melody, is it?
right. Well, I mean, it's easier in the sense that I don't have to worry about being on key. I
Hmm.
just have to worry about not messing up my technique because I do have the tendency to try to fall into my old technique of harsh vocals, and that's detrimental. It's usually, whenever I'm writing a song, I either have the idea for like what the song's going to be about some point before it's done, and then from there I kind of will lyrically I'll do like a template of like, all right, well this song's about this, and then so how is this going to progress, like a story almost. Like, all
Yeah.
right, this is, it's going to start out like this. You're going to move into this portion of the story or whatever, and then you're going to finish out like this. And sometimes I'll think of a line that I really want to either incorporate or use, and I'll just be like, well, this has to be in there somewhere in some way. And so far,
Hmm.
I've had luck doing that. We'll see how long I can keep that luck up. But yeah, it's always like, I'll just get the general idea, and then once I have the song finished and I have like at least an MP3 version or something to listen to, I kind of go through it back and over and over and over, and just kind of as I go along, think like look at the template and then put down like the general idea of the lyrics, talk them out throughout the song to kind of see if the rhythm works.
Yeah.
And then the tough part is when I'm at home and I'll have my guitar on my lap and I'll try to do it like that, and that's the real test. Is seeing
Just
like, can I
singing
play
it
this
and playing at the
while
same
singing
time.
it?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I definitely, with my love of bands like Arsis and Hypocrisy and Soilwork, those guys have a lot of like, it's some flashy guitar work, especially in the verses and choruses and stuff. And while I don't think I'm like that point of the advanced level, in terms or like difficulty in terms of like how intricate and technical the guitar stuff is, it still can be tough. It still provides a decent challenge. So I kind of the hardest part is making sure that the lyrics fit, and I can play them confidently while I can sing them confidently while playing the guitar, just so I'm not stumbling over words or missing notes and losing time.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a trial and error. And there've been a couple of times I've had to change lines, or I thought, oh, this works in my head, and then when I started playing, I'm like, no, this isn't fit. This isn't fit. We got to try something new. So there's a bit of trial and error, but it's always like a process, kind of making sure I plan it out before I just start writing lyrics.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That makes a lot of sense there. So, and then when you bring it to the band, then like, how do you do that? Do you send them like a demo recording of your riffs with your vocals, and then they just work their bits out around that, or do you go to the rehearsal studio and play it to them there, and then they work their bits out, or is it a case of sometimes like the bass player will suggest a whole new riff, and then you change the structure of the song and add that in, or is it more like they just fit around what you've done? And yeah, how does that work when you bring it to the other guys?
So far it's been working like, especially with the new. I just finished one song with them finally. It took me longer than I want to admit. Um, so what I've been doing recently is since I'll record the demo versions of it with like the MIDI drums, instrumental because the vocals are. I mean, I focus on the vocals at the very end, and that's almost all me. Which
Yeah,
occasionally I'll think of ideas for the bass player because he does the backing stuff.
sure.
So, excuse me. Yeah, I'll send them the MP3 and see what they think because I mean, I sent them in progress MP3s just just so they know where the song is going to get consistent feedback, and they'll let me know. And then once we're all happy with kind of where the song is, I quickly tab it out in Guitar Pro,
Hmm.
and I'll send those tabs to the guitarist and bass player. And while the drummer has the MP3, I mean, I'm not a drummer, and programming drums is definitely something I'm very, very new to, and I'm just kind of like dipping my toes into doing it decently, I'd like to think, or at least getting to the point where I can have basic, like bare bones beats and feel for the drummer to give him guidance. But a lot of that is, I'll always tell him, like, look, this is kind of just like the idea of what I had in my head and kind of how I'm feeling. And luckily, him and I are pretty, we're pretty much on the same page when it comes to the direction. So
Hmm.
I can usually trust him to kind of like do whatever he wants with the drums and see how that feels. But yeah, I'll give him a, in progress MP3s of how the song's coming along, and then once it's finished, we'll go, once I say like, all right, this is how the song's going to be done. This is what I have. We'll go through it. We'll talk about it, and I'll just tab it out. And throughout the time, if they think there's something we can do to change it, I'm always open to it. But
Hmm.
as of right now, yeah, that's how it's going on. I just kind of slap everything together, and once those guys are happy with it, I'll just tab it out really fast, and so they can start learning, and we can kind of go from there. Vocally, I mean, that's almost all me, and that's usually something that's kind of the last thing that we really focus on, mostly
Sure,
because it's
sure.
kind of like that's I can do that on my own time. I can tweak it as much as I need to. Um, and if the bass player has any ideas for backing stuff, I can do that. But right now with the practice room, they can't exactly even hear the vocals, so
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
tough. It's tough, but we make do so far.
that's good, man. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. So, what's next then for you guys? So I know you said you're going to try and get some shows as things come back.
Yep.
So, but have you got any plans for like you writing the next record? Are you going to do a full album in the next, I don't know, year or 2 years or whatever? Or yeah, what are the plans?
See, so I mean, definitely the shows is a big one because we just want to get out there.
Yeah.
We got a couple of things, we do want to do a couple shows with some other bands around here that we're friends with. I know we're friends with Fires in the Distance, and they want to do a kind of a big like comeback show thing,
Hey,
and we're
Kevin,
more
by the
than
way,
open to
Kevin
it.
says hello. So hi. Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
but no, it's all good. Um, so we definitely want to do that, and I've been writing, I've been getting back into writing more stuff, and I've been also contributing vocal ideas to friends like for fun projects just to kind of
Cool.
give me something else to focus on that's not the band, so I'm not like in a rut. Uh, as far as like what we record, I mean, yeah, I'm working on material, but I don't know if I want to do a full length album and kind of commit to that promotional schedule, especially knowing the uncertainty of what's going on now. Because if a lot of bands have done we got a full album, they'll do the whole press thing and do as much as they can. I just don't know if at our level it would really be prudent to do a full length right now. I'm thinking maybe another EP to kind of like really refine us, get some more exposure out there, and then maybe we'll focus on a full length.
Sure.
I flip between the two.
And what about labels and stuff? So did you? I'm not sure actually. Did you self-release the
Yep,
last one? Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
100% DIY. Well,
Are you looking to try and find a label to release your future stuff, or do you want to just keep it DIY?
that's also tough because I really don't know. On the one hand, it'd be really cool to have a label to help us out with a lot of the logistical stuff and, kind of take a little bit off of our hands with the promotion. But at the same time, that's a whole different commitment. And I think as a band, we probably would need to discuss kind of forward steps if we were to do that. If we wanted to be like, all right, well, let's see which label do we want to go with. If you want to submit stuff, and with nowadays, I mean, pitching to a label is already so different because it's like, well, I can't prove how many shows we've had. We're just the first band. This is literally a very first like no name release. I'm thinking maybe if we were to do the label, then I'd probably end up having to either put out least one or two more releases, and I probably want to do EPs at that point,
Yeah.
just to be able to kind of get them out quicker. You know, yeah, it sucks because a lot of media outlets don't really review EPs, which
Yeah. Yeah.
it's I mean it's a little bit frustrating, but I understand. You know, I think the whole metal side of the music industry is kind of it not kind of it is stuck in the past. Like it's always a full length. You always got to do the tours and the other stuff, and it's like, yeah, but not a lot of people really sit down and listen to full length albums. As far as like maybe in the metal scene do, but past that, it's kind of like it's a very short attention span considering everything's like playlist based now in
I
terms
know what
of
you mean. I know what
streaming.
you mean. I'm certainly one of the people that I do listen to full length, and I like them. And
Right.
but yeah, I get it. People do listen to music in a different way these days, and
Oh yeah.
separate tracks and playlists and mixes and things like that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I love, you know, I'll sit down and do a record front to back more often than not. I rarely ever use like a shuffle feature and full length EP, whatever. It's always front to back to me, but it's like kind of thinking in the outside of like the metal world, you know, reaching out other people who aren't just like, oh yeah, I listen to death metal. Um, you know, it's different because everything's, you know, based around singles, and that kind of seems to be how the majority of the industry is trying to go.
I know what you mean. Just yeah, no worries,
Yep,
Heather. See you
yep,
soon.
no
Thanks for
worries.
joining. See ya. Yeah, sure. No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But yeah, I think do some more EP. Do at least another one EP then maybe, and
Oh
see how
yeah,
things go.
that's
Yeah.
kind
So
of what I'm
what
leaning
about PR?
towards.
Did you use anyone for PR this time around?
Nope, that was all me.
Right. Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
so I went to school for communication and public relations, and while I did learn a lot, I feel my school's program was definitely more focused towards focused away from the entertainment industry. So it's not so much like I didn't learn how to do music PR at school. I didn't really, or much of like any kind of brand PR. It was all like, oh, well, this is how I do a PR campaign for something like, you know, a lot of the professors would do medical PR, like,
Right.
you know, community based or like agricultural based public relations campaigns to kind of help with like probably more important serious issues plaguing the world, you know, which credit where credit's due. They've made a living into those careers, and they probably made a solid difference. And I can't take that away from them. But it's like that's the selfish part of me. I was like, you know, I would have really liked to know how to do PR for a band or a label, but I guess I'll just have to pick that up as I go. But yeah, I did that. I learned a lot from the schooling. I learned a lot from you know, our friends Matt and Curtis. You know,
Yeah.
from the challenges and stuff. I kind of picked up on those and just kind of took released a lot of what I learned and tried to apply it to the band. And I think it worked out surprisingly okay. I will have to say, Twitter was a big help.
Yeah. No.
The networking on Twitter was a really big help in getting people to listen to the album and or pick it up, or at least to have some media outlets, you know, cover it and give a review or you know, interview like this one, or just a sit down chat. It's been a learning experience. I've definitely dropped the ball on a couple of things, and it's kind of just all right. Well, I'll know for the next release what I got to do more to prepare, how much more I got to put into, you know, X, Y, Z, what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah. No. Totally. Well, I mean, yeah, I was going to say that I have used Curtis, Curtis Duo, who we both know, for
Mm-hmm.
PR for my last couple of releases, and he's now working under the C Squared banner, and he's got a
Yep.
few other people working with him, Corey Westbrook and others. And I have to say that's been really good. And I'd probably recommend to bands just starting out doing their first couple of releases and their first few tracks and things I'd probably say getting PR is more beneficial than signing to a label, and unless you're going to sign to some huge label that are really going to
Right.
promote you, because most of the time, you know, I've released stuff on a few different labels and with a few different bands, and sure, it makes a difference, but it's not necessarily what people think it is. They're not just going to make you a star overnight or
Right.
something. And the fact is, labels, they have bigger bands and smaller bands in their roster, and of course they put more money and time into the bigger bands because they know that's going to bring them more return, basically. So if you're
Right.
at the smaller end of that, sometimes it can even be it can even be to the detriment of a band's career to sign to a label, because if you getting
Yeah.
forgotten about on a bigger label, when you're one of the smaller bands on a label, isn't good, and that can just mean that things stall, things take ages, and then you're sort of stuck, and you can't release stuff on your own schedule. You've got to wait for them to take a year or 2 years to get round to you, and then they don't promote your stuff that well and whatever. So, but anyway, I mean, that, there's a lot of good things that labels do as well. And to be honest, most
Right.
of the time I've had really good experiences. Don't get me wrong, but I would say that it's not a panacea, and I would say that
No.
PR is something that, like, I've started 2 new projects in the past year, actually, or just over a year, Moonlow and Waxworm, and for both of those, I've used Curtis for PR, and it's been great because we've gone from nothing. Both of those projects were completely unknown, and the only connection to anything was that I was in those bands, and I've been in other bands, and got a bit of a name for myself, whatever. But actually, we've had quite a few interviews, reviews, and things like that, and quite a few publications online featuring us and things like that, which just wouldn't have happened. So yeah, it's not something I did before. I kind of relied on labels to do that, but I have to say, Curtis and working with Curtis and working with PR in general has meant I've had a lot more promotion than what I've had on, even if I've released stuff on bigger labels than the ones I've released on with those projects, if that makes sense. So yeah,
and I mean that's kind of the benefit you'll get from a PR person compared to a label, because usually a PR person, they can generally take on like less clients at a time, probably, to be able to give more focus.
Sarp, how's it going? Sorry to interrupt you, Nikita.
How you doing? No, it's all right. And I mean, labels can only, like you said, they have bigger bands and smaller bands, and kind of like when you get a label, because you and I both help Alternative Control, and I've gotten a couple of I mean, I've had press releases from back when I was in college radio, and I'll get press releases now because I wrote for Noob Heavy as well, and it's like you see, oh, well, this label, here's a label thing, and boom, there you go. I'm like, well, it's that label. You kind of know what to look, you know what to look for. You sometimes will look at the name, maybe the description, you go, I don't want to bother. But if it's like a PR company, sometimes you're maybe more inclined to pay attention as a reviewer or a blogger to be like, oh, well, this guy hasn't steered me wrong yet, and let me take a look. But with both with PR and labels, it's so much responsibilities on the artist and the band to kind of supplement their work. So so many bands will just be like, oh yeah, I got PR, and they just let them do whatever, and they'll occasionally repost a review or it's like, oh, we did this interview, but they don't do more past that. They don't do stuff on their own. They don't really keep themselves active on there. They just kind of let it happen and see what happens. And it goes, well, there's my investment. How many sales did you make back? Oh, sales. Oh, that's right. This had a point. It's a tough biz, and with the internet being the way it is and social media like choking everyone's outreach, it's hard. DIYing it alone is hard, between trying to like, oh, well, this is a meaningful post about music, this is us working on stuff, but then you'll get a handful of likes and interactions, but then you put up something funny or very, a lot of people you are guaranteed to agree with, boom, you got exposure, but it's usually fleeting. It's tough.
I know what you mean. Yeah, man. Yeah. No, totally. So, but yeah, no, I think you're right. You hit on something there about how bands and artists, you still got to put a lot of work in, even if you are working with a PR person or a label. It doesn't really. I don't think it really reduces your workload. I think it supplements what you do
exactly,
and what they do.
Well, I think the big thing is there's a lot of bands nowadays still don't understand how the industry works, and even though I'm not even talking about like the shady or like the big stuff, like simple things like you have to send your stuff to a reviewer, and then you get the review. Because I've had my friends, our friends in Marvel of Decay are great dudes, and they've I think since quarantine started they released 2 or 3 EPs, which is awesome for them, and they've been doing really well with getting people on board. But you'll notice under the Bandcamp sales, it's like 7 blocks or 10 blocks. And I love the guys.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things where I remember I was talking to the guitarist and I was like, oh yeah, we were lucky we got, we were lucky that we got a feature from Angry Metal Guy that was very positive, and I'm very much it was a very valued review, and I was flattered. But it's like you have to go out of your way to send the stuff to the channels, to the media channels, otherwise, you're just going to be left in the dust. And so I think there's so many bands that don't even understand that part, where it's like you're not just going to be discovered. It's the internet. You have thousands upon thousands of bands out there, both listed on Bandcamp and wherever else. Some bands still use Reverb Nation, which is kind of scary, but they think it helps. The days of just being discovered are long gone. It's at least that being a commonplace occurrence.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just luck, but a lot of the time it's like you have to go out there and slap your name and email tons of people and schmooze and get that out there. And I think there's a lot of bands that don't understand even that part of it, the literacy behind the industry.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, man. So what about the social media thing then? Because I know that, say for myself, I used to hate social media and I just wasn't interested. I didn't really hate it so much as I couldn't be bothered to learn how to do it. But now having taken the advice of people we've talked about, Matt, Curtis and others, I started a couple of years ago, like posting every day and trying to actually interact with people. And I found that it's, I quite enjoy it actually. And it's also what you have to do. Even the massive bands, for the most part, they do a bit of this, or certainly the ones that are really, what's the word? Them keeping their relevance and still building new audiences now. They're doing that sort of thing, interacting directly with fans through social media, etc., etc. You can't just put music out and then do some shows and not do anything else. You have to do this social media. So how do you find it? Do you enjoy it, or is it like a chore that you have to do? And like, because I know, with something like Twitter, I try and post as much as I can and get involved in conversations like every day and stuff. And how do you find all that? How much do you do? And
real quick, I want to say, hey, Darren, my friend, a buddy of mine just joined the chat.
Hey.
Yeah, it was. I hated Twitter for a long time. I really did. I think I started one because one of my college professors said we should probably get to start using it. We were going to start using it in classes. We never did, and it just kind of sat there. I used to really like posting on Instagram, because a lot of my experiences from personal stuff, like Facebook was always a trash fire for me. Like band interactions is so low because, like, unless you're paying money per post, you're a small percentage of your audience sees your stuff unless you share it everywhere. Which I just kind of gave up on Facebook. Not gave up, but it's one of those like, yeah, I'll post because I have to, and I'll promote the stuff I have to and should promote, but I don't expect much from it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Instagram, I personally used to like a lot for my personal page because I used to just post about like nerdy things that I was interested in. But I think I kind of got burnt out on all of it after those first couple of blitz months with the band.
Right.
And it's tough, I try to, I do a lot of the posting. I know our drummer will post a lot of stuff too. But the other guys are busy. There's only so much a couple of guys can do. And between, both of our work schedule, all of our work schedules and whatever other obligations we have, it's kind of, sometimes it gets tough to remember like, oh yeah, it's been at least a day or two. I should probably put something up. But by all means, Twitter I like the most. The ease of interaction on there is great, I think, especially for smaller bands, because you can just kind of interact with other equally small bands and just have banter and have fun and talk and share some fun things. I mean, come on. I think one of our most successful tweets I literally put up a couple days ago, and it just says, what was it? Fucking riffs, am I right? The most basic, like, simple thing, we could all agree on it, but that got a lot of interaction. And it's nothing, difficult. I can do Twitter easy. I can just slap up a couple tweets a day of, either thoughts or maybe sometimes some photos. And it gets great. With Instagram though, I think the photos work well, but I think video clips definitely go a longer way.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And then Facebook is just there. It's like a hub for the other ones. And I mean,
Mhm.
I've tried to doing TikTok, and it's just the amount of effort you have to put into that site to kind of get any sort of traction is. I don't have that time. I've got 3 other social medias I have to post on,
Mhm.
plus my own personal stuff. Like I'm not gonna, I can't. I tried for a little while, and I could probably get back to it. I just need to get into the groove. And I think a lot of what social media is, spontaneity is definitely helpful. It's never a bad thing just to be like, oh, this is a cool thing I saw, or this is kind of neat and funny, and you post it. But I think a lot of the time, having like a general plan or outline of like what you're going to post, or having a couple things like on the back pocket are crucial to kind of keeping that relevance and keeping that presence alive. Because as soon as you stop for maybe a week or two, it's kind of like, oh shit, I gotta really ramp it back up to kind of make up for the lost time, and it's that endless race of catching up.
Yeah. No, totally, man. No, no, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, you gotta keep at it, and you gotta find ways to enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, absolutely. So just as we get towards the end, well, for a start, if there's anybody out there watching, and if you have any questions, then feel free to shoot us any questions that you have.
Oh yeah, drop them down there.
Yeah,
I'm
um,
always open to answering any questions. Well,
yeah, but
mostly
also
any questions.
I just want to do my own little self promo bit because
Hmm.
I've got a split release coming up. So that's Duncan Evans, me, obviously, Duncan Evans and Wilderness Hymnal, another artist. So that's going to be out on Trepanation Recordings in July. No, in September. Sorry, the
Oh,
Waxworm records out in July. I get confused, but
too
yeah,
many projects, Duncan.
we just got the first version of the masters back yesterday, and there's a few little tweaks, but basically it's very nearly done. So we're going to be sending everything off to Curtis hopefully on Monday.
Awesome.
So yeah, we'll be releasing some tracks from that over the next couple of months. So yeah, but keep a lookout for that. And if people want to follow Wilderness Hymnal as well, he's another solo project effectively. He does some
Hmm.
cool kind of art rock, experimental, kind of post rock, I guess you might call it,
Okay.
psychedelic, dark psychedelic stuff. Some of it's kind of heavy, some of it's a bit more singer songwriterish, but some of it goes quite heavy in places.
Well,
So yeah,
it's
man.
funny. Like the concept of heavy has gotten so mangled over the
Yeah,
last like decade or so. It's kind of because I mean bands that were considered heavy 10 or 20 years ago obviously now are kind of like not looked down upon, but it's like, oh, I mean, I guess they're heavy, but even then, like heavy isn't necessarily just like how loud or how low or how you know how much bass you throw into a mix.
hmm.
Something can be heavy is since it's a dynamic, you can have heavy anything. I mean, I consider there are definitely parts of like Joy Division and Cure songs that are very heavy.
Yeah,
Or
man. I mean, yeah, in a way. I wouldn't say it's completely meaningless, but it's certainly like any of these words. It means different things to different people. Like I mean, is Led Zeppelin heavy anymore? It definitely Led Zeppelin. You would have said that was heavy in the 1960s. Late 60s when they
right,
first came out. You'd go, "Whoa, this is heavy." But is it heavy now? Well, I
right.
don't know. I'd argue that it still is heavy, but it's just a different type of heavy.
Well,
Different.
yeah,
Cannibal Corpse or Led Zeppelin. It's just they're not. I don't think Cannibal Corpse is necessarily heavier than Led Zeppelin. It's just a different. It's a completely different sound.
it's a different kind of heavy though.
Yeah.
Like you can have very heavy. I mean, I guess it's kind of depending on what you're talking about, but I don't know. Heavy isn't necessarily just like we're saying. Yeah, it's got different meanings to different people in different times. But I'd still say that a lot of the stuff that was heavy then kind of still holds up as heavy now.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anyone's gonna say that like the '80s thrash bands aren't heavy anymore,
Yeah, for
considering
sure,
they
man. Sure.
they still go. Any bands like along that line still go. Just because you're not tuned to drop G with
Totally.
808 booms everywhere doesn't make you not heavy. And
Yeah.
even then, like genres outside of the rock umbrella can, or song, music outside the rock umbrella can still be really heavy.
Yeah. No,
Like
absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think one of the heaviest things ever for me when I was younger. I like a lot of Depeche Mode. Like they're one of my
Yeah,
up
great band,
there
man. Great
up there
band. Yeah.
artists. And like some of the stuff they do has been really heavy. Like the intro to Playing the Angel, that just got that really just jarring, dissonant sample, and it's like, oh God, but it's heavy. It
Yeah,
hits
yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah.
and
No,
it's something you can't. You notice it immediately, but it's not like a heavy guitar or anything. It's just that that
yeah,
moment just hits you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, see, I slightly struggle with this with the Waxworm, the one of the new projects that I'm doing. We've released one song there. That album is out in July, by the way, Waxworm album, but it's all electronic. There's no, well, I think there is one guitar on one track, but it doesn't sound like a guitar anymore. It's so affected, so it's basically all electronic. But it is heavy. A lot of it's almost doom metal-ish, but it's not.
Right.
There's no guitars, and I always kind of struggle with what to call it. So I do call it heavy, but I find it quite difficult to communicate to people that it's sort of like metal, but it's all with
Right.
electronic instruments, and there's a bit of dancey music in there as well, but it's still kind of heavy in a headbanging doom metal sort of
Right.
way, but no guitars, and people are like, people don't quite get it until they hear it.
I mean, people just need to hear more of that like dark synthwave stuff that's been
Yeah,
going on for the past like few years.
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
Artists like Laserpunk and Perturbator shows like you can be
Yeah.
heavy with synths. I mean,
Oh
yeah, you
yeah,
can all the waveforms and whatever other bits that they add into their songs. Like, yeah, without a doubt, it can be heavy. You don't need a guitar. And oh yeah, emotion like my that's actually my
yeah.
drummer in the chat, Pat.
Hey, 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 hey.
Emotional heaviness, can definitely
Yeah, I
hit you.
agree.
Like,
Yeah, I agree. And that new
um,
Perturbator album is brilliant. I've
oh,
completely
I haven't heard
forgotten
the
what it's
newest one
called
actually.
now. It's just gone out of my head, the name of it. I've reviewed it for Ghost Cult a few days ago. But yeah, that's a really, really cool album. And yeah, definitely heavy, but not
Oh yeah,
rock, you know?
or like it's going more towards like a dark folk thing. I recently got into Amigo the Devil,
Oh, do you know what?
from
I
my
don't
tattoo
really know that
artist.
stuff, but I keep seeing his stuff posted and things, so I
It's
need to check it out.
I've only heard the newest album so far, but it's like, and here's another good example. It's like Tom Waits. He
Yeah.
has got a very big Tom Waits, and Tom is incredibly heavy, especially on like a lot of the content of the lyrics
Yeah,
and the
yeah, yeah,
emotional
sure.
level. Like
Sure.
both of them, like because I think Amigos, it sounds like he's got a big Tom Waits influence, at least
Mm,
on what I've heard so far, and it's the emotional heaviness of even just like the lyrics and
mm,
how it's composed, how the words go along with the feel of the music can add so much more. So go back to the original point, heavy is kind of like such a multifaceted term in its use that I think it's been reduced to just meaning loud and low.
mm, mm,
And I feel that that's kind of, I mean, nothing we can really do. That's just how words are.
mm.
Uh, but when you use it as a descriptor for like music, it's like, oh yeah, this is really heavy. But God, just that sentence alone means so many different things to so many different people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, man. So as we just move towards wrapping up, then
Hmm.
maybe just tell us if you've got anything to promote. So tell people where to follow you, and Svn.Seeker, and where they
Yep.
can get the record. And I don't know if you have got any shows coming up that you want to promote as well for people that might live nearby, because we're going to repost this video as well on IGTV,
Right.
it's my YouTube channel. So yeah, plug away.
Well, we're Svn.Seeker, spelled with a V and a period because I'm not getting sued. There's enough bands with that name conventionally spelled, so it's Svn.Seeker. We're Twitter, Bandcamp, Instagram, Facebook. I think on Instagram and Twitter it's an underscore in the @ because I don't think we're allowed to use periods. But I mean, you'll find us. We post. We're mutuals on all the socials with Duncan and his 1800 projects. But yeah, no, we've got CDs and digital copies of our EP Means to an End up on Bandcamp. We're on whatever streaming platform you decide to use, whether it's Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music, and Deezer. We're not on Reverb Nation because we're not on Reverb Nation. As far as shows coming up, we definitely don't have anything set in stone yet, but keep an eye out. We've got more stuff we're hoping to do on. We may or may not have merchandise finally in the coming weeks.
Oh, cool.
It all depends on all depends on mail, and yeah, new stuff's been in the works since probably we wrapped up recording. Just now we're finally making actual progress. So hopefully, if not at the end of this year, hopefully next year we'll be making our way towards some studio time to get the follow-up going. But
Nice.
it's going to be fun. I definitely got a lot of stuff in the works. But Svn.Seeker, Bandcamp, of course, and whatever streaming platform you prefer, whatever social media you want to follow us on, go ahead. I'm very active on Twitter for there because it's just real easy.
Yeah,
And
man.
yeah, keep an eye out for shows and goodies.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, if you do get your merch through and you get shirts, if you want to do a shirt swap, if it doesn't cost $1 million to send to the UK, then we can always do a shirt
It shouldn't.
swap.
I've
Yeah, it
done
shouldn't be too bad. I think it's gone up for some things, but if you send like economy delivery, it's fine. It's usually
yeah, we actually sent a few
$2,000.
CDs. We sent a few CDs across to a couple of different countries, and it hasn't gone more than like $20 with the shipping, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah,
Shouldn't be too bad.
cool.
Yeah, I'd be more than down.
Let's do it. Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
Well, it's been fantastic to chat to you, Nikita, and
You as well,
all
bud.
the best with everything, with new
Thank you.
material, and with selling the existing EP, and with getting some shows happening.
Yep.
And anyone who doesn't already, as he says, follow Svn.Seeker with a V, Svn.Seeker with the full stop. You guys call it period, we call it full stop. But we all know what we mean. So
Yep.
yeah. Right, cool. Have
Awesome.
a fantastic rest of the weekend, and no doubt I shall see you on the Twitter sphere or wherever else soon.
Definitely, man. You take care of yourself. Good luck with everything.
You too, man. Cheers. Thank you.
Take care, bud.
Bye.